Welcome to Love English Lab. I'm Jake.
And I'm Emily. This is the place where you can improve your English by listening to real conversations about fascinating topics.
Exactly. No grammar drills, no boring lectures. Just stories, ideas, and deep questions. All in clear, natural English for intermediate learners like you.
Today, we're starting something special, a podcast journey about one big question. What would happen if humans suddenly disappeared from Earth?
Imagine it. No war, no politics, no technology, no cities, just silence. One moment, we're here. The next, we're gone.
No warning, no reason. Every human on Earth simply vanishes. But everything else stays: buildings, machines, animals, and the natural world.
This idea has fascinated scientists, writers, and philosophers for years. What would the planet do without us? Would it fall apart or come back to life?
In this podcast, we'll walk you through what experts think would happen hour by hour, month by month, and even centuries into the future.
We'll start with the first few minutes after humans disappear. Then we'll look at the first week, the first months, and then jump ahead to 100 and even 1,000 years later.
At the end, we'll reflect on what all this tells us about humans, nature, and the future of our planet.
And because this podcast is part of Love English Lab, we'll also help you learn English as you listen. At the end of each part, we'll review some useful vocabulary and expressions.
We'll explain their meanings and how to use them. So don't worry, just enjoy the conversation, and you'll naturally improve your listening skills.
By the way, if you like this podcast, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment.
All right, are you ready?
Then let's begin. This is What Would Happen If Humans Suddenly Disappeared from Earth. Part 1, The First Hours. Imagine this. It's a normal Tuesday afternoon. People are at work, driving, texting, cooking, walking their dogs, and then, in 1 second, all humans vanish. Just like that. Gone.
No warning, no explanation, no signs of struggle. Every person on Earth disappears at exactly the same time. But everything else remains. Machines, buildings, animals, cars. The world is left in a strange, eerie silence.
It sounds like science fiction, right? But, in this episode, we're exploring what scientists and experts believe would happen in the very first hours after such an event.
And it's not just an interesting story. It's a way to think about how much the world depends on us and how much it doesn't.
So let's start with the very first minute. Planes are still flying. Cars are still moving. Trains are racing down tracks. Machines continue working, but no one is there to control them.
Most airplanes are on autopilot at high altitudes, but even autopilot systems require human input. Without pilots, many planes would continue for a short time, maybe 30 minutes or an hour, and then run out of fuel and crash.
That means within the first few hours, thousands of aircraft would fall from the sky. Some would crash into oceans. Others would hit land, buildings, or remote areas. Fires might start, but there would be no one to respond.
Meanwhile, cars crash into each other, trees, or buildings. On highways, some just stop safely if they were idling. Others keep moving until they hit something.
Traffic lights are still working, powered by electricity. But they're changing colors for no one. Crosswalk signals blink for empty streets.
Trains continue running until they either derail or hit obstacles. Subways, too, are moving through tunnels. But without human control, accidents are unavoidable.
Now let's talk about electricity. Most power stations are still running. Coal plants, hydroelectric dams, nuclear plants. They're all designed to operate for a while without direct human input.
But that doesn't mean they'll last forever. Fossil fuel stations will soon run out of fuel. Nuclear stations will shut down automatically as a safety measure.
At this stage, electricity still works in most places. Lights are on, TVs are playing, refrigerators are humming. Smart devices are still connected, for now.
Homes are quiet. In kitchens, ovens stay hot. In bathrooms, water is still running. In bedrooms, alarms go off. No one wakes up to turn them off.
Pets are confused. Dogs bark. Cats scratch at doors. Birds flap in cages. They wait for owners who will never return.
Farm animals cry out in hunger. Cows need to be milked. Chickens and pigs need to be fed. But no farmers come.
In big cities, the silence is overwhelming. No footsteps, no voices, just the soft hum of electricity, wind blowing between skyscrapers, and the occasional crash.
Automatic doors open and close uselessly. Elevators stop between floors. Phones ring without answers. Security alarms begin to go off.
Some fires break out from kitchen stoves, fuel leaks, or electric shorts. But there are no firefighters to stop them. No water hoses, no emergency calls.
Buildings made of wood start to burn. Metal and concrete structures stay standing for now.
Zoos and aquariums face crisis. Some gates open on timers, allowing animals to escape. Others remain locked. Lions, elephants, wolves either trapped or suddenly free in city streets.
In aquariums, oxygen machines still run. But once electricity fails, fish will begin to die. Temperature, oxygen, and water quality change fast.
It's a chain reaction. One thing fails and another follows. Every part of our society is interconnected, and now it's starting to break.
Let's talk about emergency systems. Some nuclear plants have backups that last days. Others have weeks of stored fuel. But they all require human attention eventually.
If cooling systems stop, radioactive fuel can overheat and cause disasters, just like in Fukushima. But this time, there's no one to prevent or fix it.
Hospitals are among the most haunting places. Lights are still on. Machines beep in empty rooms. Monitors flash out of habit, not need. There are no patients, only silence.
It's eerie to imagine hospital rooms with lights on, monitors beeping, but no doctors, no nurses, just silence and fading machines.
And what about water? Water towers still provide pressure, but treatment plants will soon shut down. Water might become unsafe to drink after just a few days.
Sewage systems also fail. Toilets might flush for a short while, but eventually, water stops flowing. Pipes break. Flooding begins.
Garbage left behind in homes, streets, and alleys begins to rot. Without collection or control, the smell of decay spreads quickly. Animals tear open bags, and waste is scattered across neighborhoods.
Still, in these first hours, much of the world looks almost normal, at least from a distance. Lights are on. The air is clean. Buildings are intact.
But something feels different. The rhythm of life is gone. The soul of the city, its people, is missing.
Nature hasn't changed yet, but it will. And in just a few days, we'll start to see the difference.
But we'll explore that in part 2. For now, let's take a short vocabulary break to help you review some useful words and expressions from this section.
Let's go over some key vocabulary from what we just talked about. Are you ready?
Absolutely. First, the word vanish. It means to disappear suddenly and completely.
Next is derail. We said some trains would derail. That means they would come off the tracks and crash.
We also used interconnected. This means that things are linked or connected so that they affect each other.
Then there's overheat. We used it when talking about nuclear fuel rods. It means to become too hot, which can be dangerous.
Another word was eerie. We describe the silence in cities as eerie. It means strange and scary in a quiet or mysterious way.
We also said systems might fail. This simply means they stop working.
And don't forget chain reaction. It means that one event causes another, which causes another, like falling dominoes.
If you want to practice these words, try using them in your own examples. It's the best way to make them part of your vocabulary.
Okay, ready to continue? In part 2, we'll see what happens after 1 week without humans.
Welcome back to Love English Lab. In Part 1, we explored the very first hours after humans disappeared. Lights were still on, machines were still running, but things were already starting to break down.
Now, we're going to look at what happens 1 week later. 7 days may not seem like much, but without people, the changes are already dramatic.
Let's begin with electricity. Power plants haven't been maintained in days. Many have shut down automatically to avoid overheating or failure.
Most fossil fuel plants stop first. Why? Because they need a constant supply of coal, oil, or gas, and someone to operate them. With no deliveries and no workers, they run out of fuel and shut down.
Even nuclear plants, which are built with strong safety systems, begin to face problems. The reactors shut down, but the spent fuel rods still need cooling. That cooling depends on electric pumps.
Once the backup generators run out of fuel, the pumps stop. And that can lead to a radiation leak, a dangerous situation for the environment.
So by the end of the first week, large parts of the world are starting to go dark. No more lights, no more television, no internet, no radio.
Hospitals lose power completely. Machines stop working. The beeping of monitors is replaced by silence. Refrigerators shut down. Medicine spoils. Food begins to rot.
And without street lights, cities at night are completely black. The stars come out, but there's no one to look up.
Now let's talk about water systems. In many places, water pressure drops. Treatment plants stop filtering and purifying the water.
That means dirty water begins to enter the system. Bacteria grow in pipes. Eventually, water becomes unsafe to drink.
Toilets stop flushing. Sinks are dry. In some areas, water starts to flood streets and basements. Why? Because pumps that keep water out of low areas have stopped working.
New York, London, and Amsterdam are especially vulnerable. These cities rely on pumps 24/7 to keep water from invading subway systems and underground tunnels.
Without those pumps, water rises quickly. Subway stations flood. Basements become lakes. Underground shopping centers disappear.
Nature begins to push its way in. Trees grow through pavement. Grass spreads over parking lots. Weeds appear in every crack.
But it's not just the plants. Animals are on the move too. Wild animals enter cities freely now. With no people, there's no reason to hide.
Foxes, coyotes, and deer walk through downtown areas. Birds build nests in street lamps. Squirrels take over attics.
Stray dogs and cats begin to form packs. At first, they stay near homes and wait for their owners. But hunger makes them desperate. They start hunting.
Most domesticated animals, especially pets, don't survive long without humans, but some adapt. The strongest escape and become wild again.
Farm animals have mixed fates. Cows and pigs die in locked barns. But chickens that escape begin to live in small groups.
Zoos and wildlife parks are now silent. Some cages have opened accidentally. Others stay shut. Elephants wander. Lions stalk empty streets.
But some animals, especially cold-blooded ones, don't survive at all. Without climate control, they freeze or overheat.
In the oceans, things look different. Whales and fish notice the change in sound pollution. Suddenly, the seas are quiet.
That's important. Ships and underwater machines produce noise that stresses marine life. With us gone, animals like dolphins and whales swim more freely.
Let's go back to the surface and talk about fires. Without people, small fires quickly grow into wildfires.
Lightning strikes forests. Kitchens left on ignite homes. Sparks from short-circuited wires cause blazes. And no firefighters arrive.
Fires spread without control. Entire neighborhoods burn. Smoke covers skies. Ash falls like snow. No one is there to stop it.
And these fires destroy power lines and transformers, causing even more power failures across the continent.
Gas leaks also become dangerous. Underground gas lines break and explode, damaging buildings and causing chain reactions.
Airports, train stations, malls all begin to show signs of decay. Without humans, they become playgrounds for birds, raccoons, and insects.
Metal rusts, glass breaks, roofs start to leak. In just 1 week, modern architecture begins to fall apart.
Let's not forget the smells. Without garbage removal, the stench of food, waste, and decay fills the air.
Cities begin to feel less like ghost towns and more like jungles made of concrete and glass.
Now imagine flying over Earth. From a satellite, you'd still see lights in some places, mainly solar-powered ones, or places with long-lasting systems.
But most of the planet would be going dark. Day by day, fewer lights would remain. Within a week, the Earth looks quieter and darker.
But it's not dead. It's just changing, transforming, becoming something new.
We like to think that we're at the center of everything, but in just 1 week, the Earth is already learning to live without us.
In the next part, we'll see what happens after a few months. By then, nature will be taking over more aggressively.
But before we go, let's take a moment to review some vocabulary from this episode.
Let's review some of the most useful words and expressions from this section.
First up, shutdown. We used it when talking about power plants. It means to stop operating, usually safely.
Then we said radiation leak. That's when dangerous radioactive material escapes into the environment.
Another word was water pressure. It describes the force that moves water through pipes. When pressure drops, water stops flowing.
We also talked about flooding. That's when water covers land that's usually dry.
Don't forget packs. We used it when animals like dogs group together to survive or hunt.
We mentioned sound pollution too. That's unwanted noise that affects animals or people, like engines, sirens, or machines.
And finally, decay. It means slow destruction or decline, like buildings breaking down over time.
You can try using these words in your own sentences or write about what you think would happen in your city during the first week.
Great idea! Okay, let's keep going. In Part 3, we'll explore what happens a few months after humanity disappears. Welcome back to Love English Lab. So far, we've explored what happens in the first hours and the first week after humans disappear.
Now we move forward in time. It's been 3 months since every human vanished. Cities are no longer just silent, they're changing.
That's right. In just a few months, nature has started to reclaim everything. The Earth doesn't wait. It keeps moving, keeps growing.
Let's start with cities. Skyscrapers, highways, and neighborhoods are beginning to fall apart. The first signs of decay have become serious damage.
Without heating or air conditioning, buildings crack, warp, and leak. Paint peels off. Water enters roofs and walls. Mold grows in every dark, damp space.
Elevators are frozen in place. Escalators are rusted. Shopping centers are flooded. The smell of rotting food and stagnant water is everywhere.
Power grids have collapsed. Generators are silent. Cables and wires hang like vines. And in the darkness, nature begins to thrive.
Grass grows through sidewalks. Trees push up through roads. Ivy and moss cover walls and windows.
And it's not just the plants. Animals have made their way into the cities, completely and without fear.
Packs of dogs chase wild pigs. Coyotes and wolves fight over territory. Deer walk calmly through intersections. Birds build nests in streetlights and old apartment balconies.
Even bears, foxes, and boars are returning to urban areas, especially in places where they lived before humans arrived.
Let's talk about pets. Sadly, most household animals didn't survive. They depended too much on humans for food and shelter.
But some escaped, and now the ones that adapted are forming new wild populations. They're stronger, faster, and more aggressive than before.
Cats, for example, became efficient hunters again. They live in abandoned buildings, hunt rats and birds, and reproduce quickly.
Now let's talk about something we don't always think about: insects.
Yes, without pest control. Insects explode in number. Flies, mosquitoes, ants, and cockroaches invade every empty building.
Meanwhile, bees and butterflies benefit from the return of wildflowers. They play a key role in pollination as plants take over the urban world.
The ecosystem is shifting fast. Some species disappear, others grow stronger, and over time, entirely new balances form.
Now, let's move underground. Basements are flooded. Sewage has backed up. Tunnels are filled with water and debris.
Rats, snakes, and amphibians live where people used to work and commute. Underground cities are now swamps. Back above ground, buildings continue to collapse. Structures made from wood and glass fall first. Water damage causes ceilings to fall and stairs to break. Even concrete cracks when water enters and freezes. Trees grow into walls. Roots lift foundations.
Overpasses fall. Bridges collapse. Entire sections of cities are no longer safe if anyone were there to care.
And then there's fire. Even now, wildfires continue. Forests burn. Lightning causes massive blazes that spread into suburbs.
With no fire departments, no planes to drop water, and no one to stop it, entire towns disappear in smoke and ash.
And after the fires, plants return. First moss and fungi, then weeds, then trees. The cycle of nature continues.
Let's shift our focus to the oceans. Marine life has noticed our absence too.
Fishing boats are gone. Pollution from coastal cities has dropped. With less noise and chemicals, fish and whales are returning to old habitats.
Coral reefs, though still struggling from past damage, are starting to regenerate in places with cleaner water.
And with fewer ships, many species that were endangered begin to multiply again.
The Earth is healing, slowly. But let's not pretend everything is perfect.
Some damage we caused continues. For example, nuclear waste remains dangerous. Old chemical plants leak into soil and rivers.
And plastics, they're still everywhere. In rivers, forests, and oceans. Animals eat them. They don't decompose.
That's one of our most lasting footprints. Not our buildings, but our trash.
And while some species thrive, others go extinct. Domesticated animals, zoo creatures, and some crops simply disappear.
Fields once used for farming are now overgrown. Corn, wheat, and rice can't compete with wild plants. Without humans to replant, they vanish.
The landscape changes dramatically. A football stadium becomes a forest. A freeway becomes a jungle trail. The lines between city and wild blur.
And what about climate?
Well, global temperatures are still rising, but more slowly. Carbon emissions dropped instantly when humans disappeared.
But greenhouse gases remain in the atmosphere. They don't disappear overnight. It could take centuries to return to pre-industrial levels.
So in the short term, wildfires, droughts, and storms still happen. But long term, the planet might eventually cool again.
It's a strange world, one that looks familiar, but also completely different. Cities without people, roads without cars, skies without planes.
The Earth is rebuilding itself. And it's only been a few months.
What will it look like in 100 years? Or 1,000?
That's coming up next. But before we move forward, let's review some vocabulary.
Let's take a moment to highlight some important words from today's episode.
We started with the verb reclaim. Nature reclaims buildings and roads. It means to take back what was once yours.
Then there's decay, slow destruction, especially from natural causes like water, mold, or time.
We talked about mold, a type of fungus that grows in wet places. It smells bad and can damage buildings.
Collapse is another strong word, when something falls down suddenly.
Ecosystem is important. It refers to all the living things in an environment and how they interact.
We also use pollination, which is how flowers reproduce, with help from bees, butterflies, and other insects.
And don't forget greenhouse gases. These are gases that trap heat in the atmosphere and cause global warming.
To practice, you could try writing your own version of what your neighborhood might look like a few months after humans vanish.
Great idea! In the next part, we'll fast forward to a full century. 100 years later, what's left of human civilization?
Let's find out in part 4, 100 years later.
Welcome back to Love English Lab. So far, we've explored the first hours, the first week, and the first few months without humans. Now it's time to travel further into the future.
100 years have passed. A full century since the last human walked the earth. It's a completely different world now.
The changes are no longer small. They're massive, deep, visible from space. Nature has taken over almost everything we built.
Let's start with cities. They don't look like cities anymore. They look like ruins from an ancient civilization.
Concrete is cracked. Steel frames have rusted and fallen. Skyscrapers have collapsed, their foundations eaten by tree roots and rainwater.
Some cities have become forests. Others are wetlands. Swamps grow where parking lots once stood. What used to be highways are now rivers of grass.
The line between the built environment and nature has completely disappeared.
Most wooden buildings have disintegrated. Mold, termites, and time broke them down long ago. Even plastic, which takes centuries to degrade, is starting to fall apart.
What's still standing? Stone buildings, cathedrals, pyramids, monuments. These structures were built to last, and they still do.
The pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, stone temples in South America. They remain, though weathered by rain, wind, and time.
It's ironic. Our most ancient buildings outlived our most modern ones.
Even our language is disappearing. Signs have faded, books have rotted, digital data is gone. No hard drives or websites have survived the elements.
And yet, Earth doesn't care. Life goes on. The world is more alive now than it has been in centuries.
Let's talk about animal life. Without human interference, species that were once endangered are now thriving.
Wolves hunt freely in Europe. Elephants travel long distances without fences. Tigers roam through former farmlands in Asia.
In the oceans, whales sing again. Fish populations have returned. Coral reefs, once bleached and dying, have started to grow again slowly.
Forests have expanded. Deserts have shrunk in places where water returned. Even the air is cleaner.
But not everything has healed. The damage we did before disappearing still lingers.
Let's talk about climate change. The greenhouse gases we released stayed in the atmosphere for decades. It took time, but temperatures began to stabilize.
The Earth is slowly cooling now. Storms are less extreme. Sea levels have stopped rising, but many coastal cities remain underwater.
And the plastic? Still here, on beaches, in forests, floating in the ocean.
Also, radioactive zones still exist, places like Chernobyl and Fukushima. The danger hasn't disappeared. The land is poisoned for centuries.
But here's something strange. In those radioactive places, animals still live. They've adapted. They may be mutated, but they survive.
Let's talk about bridges and roads. Most are gone. Bridges collapse from rust and erosion. Roads cracked and turned to dust.
Nature doesn't respect property lines or traffic signs. Rivers cut through highways. Trees grow in the middle of old airports.
And satellites? Most have fallen back to Earth or burned in the atmosphere. But a few are still in orbit, silent and forgotten.
They circle the planet like ghosts, reminders of a civilization that vanished without explanation.
So what's left of us? What would another species, maybe from another planet, find if they came here?
They might discover strange objects, bits of metal, pieces of plastic, fragments of statues, tools made from stone or steel.
They might find books, but they won't be readable. They might find digital devices, but they won't be usable.
Our digital history, photos, videos, files, has completely disappeared. The internet, social media, online records, all gone.
It's strange, right? All those hours we spent creating content, building our online lives now erased by wind, rain, and time.
In the end, what survives isn't what we thought would last. Not technology, not entertainment, but stone and nature.
We built rockets and satellites, but nature built trees and rivers that still flow.
And in the forests where cities once stood, animals now live in peace. They've made homes in our ruins.
It's not a sad ending, it's just different. Earth didn't die without us. It started again.
So what's the lesson? Maybe it's this. We are not as permanent as we think.
And if we ever return, if humanity comes back, we must be more respectful, more humble, and more careful with the planet we share.
In the next part, we'll go even further into the future. What happens 1,000 years after humans are gone?
Before we do that, let's go over some vocabulary. Let's take a moment to review some of the vocabulary from today's episode.
First, we use the word ruins. This means broken remains of buildings or cities that once stood tall.
Then we said that buildings disintegrated. That means they broke into tiny pieces or were completely destroyed over time.
We also used linger, to stay longer than expected, like pollution that lingers in the air or chemicals that linger in the soil.
Mutated means changed genetically, sometimes from radiation or environmental factors.
Stabilize was another word. It means to become more steady or balanced, especially after a period of change or crisis.
We also said things were weathered, worn down by natural forces like wind, rain, and sun.
And let's not forget adapted. Animals adapted to the new world. It means they changed in order to survive better.
Try to use these words in writing or conversation. That way, they become part of your English toolbox.
All right, next up, 1,000 years later. Welcome back to Love English Lab. We've seen the Earth 1 hour after humans disappear, 1 week later, a few months later, and even 100 years later.
Now we go further, much further. It's been 1,000 years, 10 full centuries, since the last human was on Earth.
What does the world look like now? What's left of our cities, our technology, our culture, and our impact?
Let's begin with nature. At this point, almost every part of Earth has been reshaped by time, weather, and wildlife.
Rain, wind, earthquakes, and plant roots have destroyed what was left of most modern structures. Cities are now forests.
Skyscrapers, gone. Roads, cracked and overgrown. Bridges, collapsed into rivers. Airports, covered in moss and trees.
The Amazon rainforest has likely doubled in size. Forests now stretch over what used to be highways and suburbs.
Places that were once deserts may now have new plant life, especially if climate patterns shifted over the centuries.
And speaking of climate, temperatures have likely stabilized by now. The greenhouse gases we left behind are gone, or greatly reduced.
It took hundreds of years, but the planet slowly cooled again. Weather patterns became more balanced. The oceans are healthier.
Fish are back in huge numbers. Coral reefs have regrown. Even whales, dolphins, and sharks are thriving again.
On land, animals have evolved. The wolves, deer, and wild pigs we talked about in earlier episodes now look very different.
Their descendants are faster, stronger, more suited to a world without humans.
Some species we knew may no longer exist. Others may have taken strange new forms.
Imagine raccoons the size of dogs, or birds that learn to live in underground tunnels. Evolution works in surprising ways.
But let's ask the big question. What's left of human civilization?
Well, the answer is not much. Most of our technology has disappeared. Plastics have broken down into microparticles. Electronics are dust.
Books, paper, art almost all gone. Anything made of wood or fabric has decayed completely.
Our greatest buildings are buried under trees, soil, or rubble. Even stone monuments are starting to fade.
So, what might survive?
Possibly some carvings in stone, like the pyramids or Mount Rushmore. Maybe a few metal statues. And, of course, our space probes.
Ah, yes. The Voyager spacecrafts are still traveling through deep space, carrying golden records messages for other civilizations.
They contain music, greetings in many languages, and information about Earth. If they're ever found, they'll be the last trace of who we were.
Back on Earth, another intelligent species might appear. Maybe birds, maybe primates, maybe something new.
And if they're curious, they might explore our ruins trying to guess what happened to the people who once ruled the planet.
They'd find strange objects, glass beads, metal tools, pieces of plastic, but no living humans.
Would they understand us? Or would they create myths about gods and monsters based on what little remains?
That's the mystery. 1,000 years is enough to erase almost everything except the questions.
Let's talk about one more long-term effect. Radiation.
Yes, some nuclear waste sites are still dangerous, even after 1,000 years.
People tried to mark them with warning signs, but language fades. Symbols lose meaning. Who will know they're dangerous?
So, future life on Earth may walk into radioactive zones without any idea of the risk.
It's one of the most haunting things we've left behind. Poison without instructions.
And yet, the planet has mostly healed. Green has replaced gray. Life has returned to places once considered dead.
The earth continues to turn. The seasons change. The rivers flow. Life goes on without us.
It's not the end of the world, just the end of our world.
But what we left behind, our inventions, our structures, our damage, shape the future.
It's a strange legacy, not of war or technology, but of silence and survival.
Let's take a moment to review some vocabulary from this episode.
Let's go over some of the key words and phrases we used in this episode.
First up, descendants. These are the future generations of animals or people.
We also said space probes. They're machines we send into deep space to explore or send information.
Another useful word, carvings. That means words or images cut into stone or wood.
We talked about weather patterns, how rain, wind, and temperature change over time.
Evolution is another important word. It means how living things change slowly over many generations.
We use the phrase poison without instructions. That's not a dictionary phrase, but it's powerful. It means danger left behind with no explanation.
Finally, legacy. It's what we leave behind, our impact on the world, for better or worse.
Try writing a summary using these words, or imagine what your house might look like in 1,000 years.
In our next and final episode, we'll reflect on everything we've learned and ask one last question. What does it all mean? Welcome back to Love English Lab. We've come to the end of this journey.
Yes, over the course of this podcast, we've imagined a world without us. From the very first hour to 1,000 years later.
We've seen how machines stop, how buildings fall, how animals return, and how nature slowly takes over everything we once controlled.
It was fascinating, sometimes beautiful, sometimes sad, but always powerful.
Now we ask, what does it all mean?
Maybe the first lesson is this: we are not the center of the earth. Nature existed before us, and it will continue after us.
Another lesson, the world doesn't need us to survive, but we need it to live, to breathe, to grow.
And we also learned that the damage we cause doesn't disappear easily. Some of it lasts hundreds or thousands of years.
But there's hope, too. We saw that when we're gone, the earth starts to heal. Air becomes cleaner. Water becomes clearer. Life returns.
So the real question is, do we want to leave? Or do we want to stay and do better?
Exactly. What kind of future do we want? One where we destroy everything? Or one where we learn to live in balance?
This podcast wasn't about giving up. It was about waking up.
It was about asking questions about our habits, our systems, our relationship with nature.
And it was about language, too. About learning English in a meaningful way, by thinking deeply and listening closely.
Because language is more than just grammar. It's how we connect with the world, with ideas, with emotions.
So if you listened all the way through, congratulations, you didn't just practice English, you practiced thinking.
And you joined us on a journey that asked, if we disappear, what remains?
We hope the answer is kindness, learning, respect, and the desire to grow.
So now, it's your turn. What did this series make you think about?
Would you live differently? Treat the earth differently? Treat people differently?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments or send us a message.
And remember, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning.
Keep listening, keep learning, keep imagining.
And keep loving English with us at Love English Lab. Before we say goodbye, Let's review some final vocabulary from this reflection.
First, we use the word balance. It means harmony or equality between different things, like humans and nature.
We also said the planet began to heal. That means to recover from damage or pain.
Another strong word is legacy, what we leave behind after we're gone.
We used wake up metaphorically. It means to become more aware or conscious of something important.
Meaningful is another great word. It means full of purpose, value, or emotion.
And finally, practice thinking. This isn't a typical phrase, but we used it to mean using your mind deeply and creatively.
Try using these words in your own journal or discussion. Reflect on what kind of impact you want to leave.
And if you enjoyed this series, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review.
Thank you for joining us. This has been Love English Lab, and you've been amazing.
Until next time, take care of yourself and of this beautiful world.